So we've got synthetic fibers. A lot of times they're petrochemical derived. So not exactly great for the environment and not exactly great for the person either. So these are going to be your nylons, your spandex, your neoprene, microfibers, olefins, suede leather, a lot of stuff that can kind of mimic some of these more natural fibers, but they're cheaper to produce, right? And again, like I said, petrochemical derived. So not ideal, but they're taking over, and now they're a massive, massive chunk of like what you see on the shelves. Now the natural fibers are like wool, it's leather, silk, hemp fabric, flax cloth, you think of linen, cotton, like all of these more natural fibers that we've been wearing for thousands of years. And so that's the big difference.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. This is a mini episode, and it's a family episode because we have one of our fearless leaders here, Abi Fernandini. So she's our expert, honestly, and on this subject matter. And then obviously Dr. Chris Motley,
our other favorite,
our other
favorite,
our
favorite. Gosh, yeah, this is a family event. Like this is a family affair. Here we are in Nashville. I'm so excited to be here.
Everybody's like having a good time, having a blast, and it's just it's a family affair.
We're sitting around the table,
just having a good convo.
Yeah, everybody's in their linen except for me. I was in linen, but
we're actually gonna break your outfit pieces down.
Yeah. I'm feeling hardcore judged on my outfit, but that's the teaser for our subject matter, which is fabrics. If you've never thought about this before, you're not the only one, because I never thought about it either until Abi made me aware of this.
Yeah. And we're talking about the frequencies of fabrics, about the energetic output that certain fabrics can have on your skin and on your body. Because what most people may not realize is that your skin is a huge conductor of electricity. And with all the nerd talk we have on this podcast, one of the biggest things that we often forget is that we're conductors of electricity. Our skin are full of voltage. So why is it that they say don't get too close to your cell phone or don't put a laptop on your lap? Is because the battery can change the voltage on the skin. Now, could clothes do that? Could fabric do that?
Ooh.
Can it change the conductivity of your skin? And can that have an effect on your health? And the expert, Abi Fernandini, is going to be talking about this. This is going to be great. Thank you for coming on. This is a family affair. This is great. We have Chalisa, we got Paulina, we got Trenton here. Guys, you should be here because you're missing out.
This is good.
But they are here. I kind of feel like our audience is like our extended family.
We are.
Yeah.
It's true.
You're just at the table with us.
And we're all wearing like cotton and linen today, so it's really good. Minus the leggings, but it's okay.
Yeah, what?
We'll just count it out.
It's all about balance.
Well, guys, should we start out with like what the differences are between natural and synthetic fibers? Let's start there. Let's break it down, right? Okay. So we've got synthetic fibers. A lot of times they're petrochemical derived. So not exactly great for the environment and not exactly great for the person either. So these are going to be your nylons, your spandex, your neoprene, microfibers, olefins, suede leather, a lot of stuff that can kind of mimic some of these more natural fibers, but they're cheaper to produce, right? And again, like I said, petrochemical derived. So not ideal, but they're taking over, and now they're a massive, massive chunk of like what you see on the shelves and what you see in stores. So it's taken over drastically in the last actually like 15 years. So there's been a huge shift. Now the natural fibers are like wool, it's leather, silk, hemp fabric, flax cloth, you think of linen, cotton, like all of these more natural fibers that we've been wearing for thousands of years. And so that's the big difference is, one's like derived from nature and the other's from petrochemicals.
So with petrochemicals, I would mean like we're saying petroleum, like almost like that chemical petroleum. Like
exactly.
And I don't know if it's similar related, but it would say like if you know what like a sports drink has all those colors and all that's petroleum. So it's like materials that are similar that are making the fabric.
And you're clothed in it day in and day out wearing it. So it's pretty fascinating. So to break it down further, if you're looking at the frequencies of these fabrics, if you look at natural fibers, they have a much different frequency than a lot of these synthetic fibers. So wool resonates at 5,000 megahertz.
Whoa.
Linen resonates at 5,000 megahertz. Cotton, normal cotton resonates at 90 megahertz, I think it's been said. And then organic cotton resonates a little bit higher in between 100 and 110 megahertz. And going from there, polyester resonates about 15 megahertz. So a massive dip in like frequency output from the synthetic fabrics.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really interesting, right? And what's even crazier is that they say that a body on its deathbed resonates at a super low frequency of around 15 megahertz versus if you're a live being who's active like you and I, we're all sitting here, we're resonating around what organic cotton would actually be sitting at. Super interesting.
That is really
I know, right? It did really fast. Didn't mean to take that downward turn, but here we are.
But,
wow.
I mean, because it's something you're always encountering. And when you talk about organic cotton or like a high frequency, so I try to equivocate it to when we use at the office, sometimes we'll do like a small microcurrent machine. And so what they'll say is like, if like a low frequency or a high frequency gets in and around you, like you always try to actuate with the frequency.
Right.
So you have a vibration, you may have a higher vibration, and if they meet, they always try to match each other. So it naturally will pull you down. Is that like, that's what will happen?
Yes. Well, it's actually even interesting when you say that is, so frequencies oscillate in two different directions. So you could get even further. And they say that if you wear wool and linen wool or linen together.
Yeah.
They're both 5,000 megahertz, but one oscillates from right to left and the other one oscillates from left to right. So they actually cancel each other out when you wear them, and they end up at zero. So that's really even fascinating. So when you think about that on the human body, things happen similarly. And it's actually interesting too. We were talking about TBI. I was talking to a friend who's a TBI survivor.
Yeah.
Had a traumatic brain injury. After the injury, she could not wear synthetic fabrics because of a massive sensory processing disorder that she had acquired post-TBI. So she was literally unable to wear any like petrochemical derived products.
Yeah. And
she only could wear like linens and cottons and wools, like these natural fibers, because her sensory processing would just get so thrown off.
I mean, that would make so much sense, though. I mean, especially like vagal nerve stimulation. So after the TBI, she couldn't wear anything that was synthetic.
No.
Because if it's at 15 megahertz, like it's like literally pulling you down.
And yeah, her brain like physically could just like she literally went into the doctors for this. Like she couldn't understand. She couldn't figure it out. And she was like, what is going on? And then she started to kind of deduce in her own and was like, oh, this may be something to do with the actual fabrics that are coming out. Now, and if you look at post-surgery, they're using usually I think either hemp or flax cloth. And that's because it's got like a healing components to it. They've done a lot of, this is like evidence-based. They've published studies on this where that fabric in particular helps accelerate healing. So they'll usually wrap these like certain wounds post surgery with that fabric because it actually helps. And if you also think about it too, like these synthetic fabrics don't breathe. They're not breathable. So they're breeders of bacteria, infections. You think of girls wearing these like Lululemon, and we love our Lululemons, but
I'm in them right now.
Right.
And I'm kind of like dying. I'm dying a little bit inside.
We have like girls with like chronic cases of UTIs.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very linked to these really restrictive like fabrics that are like not letting them breathe, and the UTI, like you end up getting these chronic cases of UTIs from this fabric.
I mean, because if you had like the cotton and the wool, if they cancel each other out, I mean, could it be presumed that you had like a polyester or something that was like near an area where you had a UTI, like down, and could that signal from that accentuate the bacteria or like feed it? And the good stuff, could it cancel it out?
This is like theoretical. I'm very curious.
Will
anybody do any studies on this?
One of my friends, Dr. Miller down in Texas, she had these socks that she had in her office, and it has a point, guys, but she had it where it's made out of certain material. And I said, well, why do you have socks? Are you selling socks here? And she said there are certain polymers and natural fabrics that are used on certain points on the feet that correlate to certain acupoints.
Incredible.
And I put them on. And she was saying, well, what's your stabilizer muscles like? So I stand there and she's pushing me in different directions. She goes, well, your G medius, your hip flexors on this are not working well. And I'm pushed around. And so she puts the socks on, and I put the socks on. And she goes, you got to make sure that it's twisted properly right on the ball of the foot where your kidney points are at. And I will say 3 of the spots I did not move. I could not believe it. I was like, wow, that's really good. And one of them I was completely off. But she was saying, this has to be similar, because she goes, there are certain vibratory patterns within fabric that can actually heal.
Absolutely. Well, and this is the thing, is you think about people with autoimmune conditions, you think about people with chronic illnesses, could their fabrics be inhibiting them from healing in certain, and again, very theoretical speaking, but if you're manipulating an entire frequency when your skin is literally the external sensory processing system, how is that going to infect you, or affect you internally speaking? And does this prevent? And so the theories of some of these people that have started to talk about this is that it actually does perpetuate an autoimmune condition. It can perpetuate chronic illness, and women, especially for even simple things like chronic UTIs, if you could just do one thing as a woman, it's just wear cotton underwear. Stop wearing Victoria's Secret. Petrochemical derived, and you get into the whole fertility topic, but that's another discussion.
Okay, so with fertility though, I've heard that even labels on your clothes, that certain companies will spray formaldehydes to keep them preserved, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So they could be on the fabric, and the people could be getting that vibratory pattern.
Well, not only that, but Shein had a really interesting lawsuit happening. Shein is that major fast fashion brand. They had an interesting lawsuit where their workers were coming down with lead poisoning.
Oh, what?
And then they tested the clothing, and don't quote me, I don't remember the exact outcome of the article, but I remember there being trace amounts of lead in their clothes. And there was another lawsuit, and I don't know if it's class action or what's happening, but this is very common for a lot of these fast fashion companies who are cutting corners. They're sweatshops in China, and their workers are getting sick, which literally raises red flags initially, and then they go to later test the clothing, and then you get down this whole other rabbit hole that's not even frequency related, but it's the associated you're already looking at the petrochemical.
That was something I was going to bring up, because for some reason, when I first started hearing about this, I immediately associated it with the chemicals that were involved in the manufacturing of the clothing, and that those are endocrine disruptors. Those are forever chemicals. Those are the things that are creating toxicity that people are unaware of. I didn't even realize the frequency aspect of it. So it's kind of a two-sided, because there are multiple ways and different layers in which this is affecting your body, no pun intended, but it's I think the chemical part, in my mind, I was okay, well, I'll just wash my clothes 6 times before I wear them, and I'll wash it all out and it'll be fine. But here I am now.
Here we are.
I'm gonna have to.
And that's the thing, is not being perfect about your clothes. We had so many discussions where I was initially I just started swapping out little pieces here and there. Oh, I'm gonna grab I'll buy a bra, an organic cotton bra here, but majority of my wardrobe is still Lululemon, or it's still these other brands that do have forever chemicals, the polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAs, whatever. PFAs. And so I was okay, I'll just start swapping little pieces here and there. The most important piece for me was underwear, because of what that is such a sacred area of your body. And you just need to protect it at all costs. And so going from there and just swapping out little pieces, but not being overly stringent about it, but being hyper aware of oh, I would get more UTIs when I would wear X clothing versus if I'm just free wearing my linen and my, my cotton, and not having these same problems. So it was really interesting, even anecdotally, where you can really look at the self data that you collect and go, oh, I can actually see a difference there in a lot of ways.
Totally. Well, men too, because this has come out because we've seen testosterone levels are
dipping,
just going down the tubes, and we're seeing a lot of infertility with men, and where we've never seen that before. And so now it's you see all these men wearing, boxer briefs, whatever, that are made of those the same materials.
And you think about how the sweat glands are supposed to be these detoxifying, or it is a detoxifying process, and you're opening up the pores. But what are you receiving in those pores if you're constantly sweating in, forever chemical clothing, right? What are you allowing in? And so we get super hyper aware of our food. Oh, I put all my food in BPA free, plastic free this and glass containers, but it's what are you wearing every day? What are you opening up to your bloodstream? What is floating around there? We don't know.
Right.
You never know.
And it's you just have to add that new facet, because it's you everything you consume is it's fully functioning. Like, you have to think about, like, even the clothes you wear.
I mean, I think this is like eye-opening to me, because I think when you consider, for instance, sometimes like I would wear this one wool sweater, and I don't necessarily think that I have like huge wool allergens. But when you talk about like an underwear or how it could affect an area, like I would find that when I would wear wool, like the back of my arms were like called the small intestine meridian, where it would run down, would always feel like it was itching. And I like kind of wear, I was like, why in the world? I'm just saying, proposing that if you wore a fabric, or if it's in an area down in your nether regions, if that vibration or that frequency comes off and affects your lymph nodes, or, and people may think it's far-fetched, but I don't. I think if you can weaken a meridian with the fabric, or change the voltage where the meridian travels, is it possible that it actually weakens the organ associated for that part of the skin?
If you think about it, like, you can't even feel or see EMF radiation, and it impacts you in ways you wouldn't understand. Like, imagine what something that you're wearing on your body that you can feel and touch every day. Like, it's definitely got like some sort of impact of some kind. So,
it has to. I even think about like colors too, because they say like certain colors affect your psyche in certain different ways, like the wavelength that comes off clothes. Like, why do people pick certain colors? I wonder if the color frequency, the wavelength that comes off the fabric affects a person.
What did they say? I think my friend Paulina actually mentioned this, that in like, what is it, Fukushima and basically everybody was wearing yellow rain jackets because it protects you. It was like supposedly like a protectant for radiation. And so the idea is that a color can actually like counteract potential negative harms. Shout out Paulina. For the really interesting information there.
I'm telling, and anybody like, and Anise, Dr. Anise is here too. I'm like, whenever anybody wants to do like more like meridian pathways to where it could be affecting, because he has the best green shirt on right now. I think I'm serious, brother.
That is a good color.
But have you guys seen that the toothpaste that they use the purple on the toothpaste to cancel out the yellow because of how colors create
contrast.
They do that for blondes, too.
Yeah, we do that for blondes. Whenever we get our highlights, we get some purple.
Our hair gets brassy, you put the purple.
You do.
The purple one I'm talking about is probably so toxic, but it does actually take the
what?
I mean, we can't be perfect. We gotta pick our battles, right?
I mean, we really do.
Well, I mean, could it be like, you have a color or a fabric has a frequency or something, then you say yellow jacket, because it cancels out, bad mood mojo and
bad
juju and mojo, whatever. And I think it would be a really interesting case when you say like those socks or any type of fabric. I wonder does anybody make like fabrics? I know we need to use natural.
We just started going down the rabbit hole of, do they make cotton bathing suits? And we found out that there's a designer in Greece who's protesting polyester bathing suits, which was fantastic. And she just now started this cotton, like really cool cotton suit line. And beforehand they were wearing wool suits. Bathing suits were made out of wool.
What?
That sounds
but it was the original. No. Yeah. It wasn't actually itchy though. It was like a different type of wool. It was like probably like a merino wool or something like that. Yeah. It wasn't super itchy at all, and it was like very like fitted, dried super fast. And so all the bathing suits up until recently were all wool.
And there has to be something that they said of course it's got to be production and time of production that makes all these polyester are very quickly. But I think like with the naturals like coming out, I mean, there has to be a movement back towards that. I mean, do you feel, when you wear something more natural, can you start to feel the difference now when you wear something that's
I get really like, this sounds really crazy, and maybe it's myself anecdotally. I feel anxiety when I'm wearing too much tight clothes, like polyester. If I'm wearing I feel like angst. Like I can't, like, I don't know what it is. And I don't know if that's just me and how I've like switched myself in the way I view that fabric now, or if it's like an actual sensory, like tactile thing for me that I don't like anymore.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think every woman would agree that it's a very freeing moment when you could take your bra off at night and you're just like,
Amen,
I mean,
sister.
I know that's probably just going too far, but I'm just saying, like, that feeling, right? It's like, we arrived, we did it. Good job.
Well, and you know what's really challenging, and this is the thing, right? Am I going to go in a organic cotton set to my hot yoga class where I'm going to be sweating bullets? It's not ideal. Now, can we find some darker color tones maybe in a few pieces of organic cotton here and there? Yeah. Am I going to cry about it if I'm not wearing it? no, it's just something I'm aware of because the sweat stains can also be kind of real.
Yeah.
Pact has really good organic cotton apparel.
What's your favorite?
Yes, we are.
Pact is really good. Mate the Label's great.
Yes.
TJ Maxx has great linen stuff. Like, let me just
Really?
plug my TJ Maxx here for a second.
Sponsored by TJ Maxx.
I'm wearing TJ Maxx
We're not.
linen pants currently.
I mean, I like it.
Listen, you can really, and the biggest takeaway that I had from like learning about this stuff was reading the labels of my fabric.
Yeah.
So literally just anytime I was like looking to purchase a fabric and it was X amount of dollars, justifying in my brain, if I looked at the label and saw, oh, it's like 45% nylon and, 32% spandex. And, you see this laundry list and it's like, oh, maybe it's not as worth it as I thought.
I mean, I know when we're talking about how you use a synthetic versus a natural, I mean, this could be another whole trail to go down. But I mean, I would have to think that if you took cotton or you took any type that was making the linen and you had it grown in a certain area and they used something on the grounds, like if they used pesticides or if it was grown in where an energetic, like let's say a city or a farmland was very negatively charged, would that affect the seed and that had the charge in the fabric?
Ooh.
I mean, it
that's a
could
good
be
question.
possibly. I mean, I don't know, but that's a possibility. So anyway, that's been good.
That's tough. Well, yeah, just like food for thought.
I love this though, because it's a compounding effect, right?
Right.
Like you're never going to nail everything, but
No.
a little bit of intentional effort to improve an area, I feel like it gives you just like little marginal wins, but they all start to stack up.
Yeah.
So when you talk about your clothes, and you talk about your environment, you talk about your emotional health, like imagine if you just did a little bit in all those buckets.
Just switch your cotton just switch your underwear to all cotton, ladies.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
save the
Like, you can
Lulus
keep
for like
your
yoga
Lulu,
class.
yeah.
And then,
just the most important pieces of you that you want to protect and like kind of just start there and see where you go.
I agree. I think that when you start to look at like the small things add up, and I think you could people could overlook and say, oh, it's just clothes, and I'm like, no, if you start to add in small things and like add them up in your health care routine, I think it's something to really consider.
Even
I've
like
never really
organic
considered this
cotton
like I needed to.
pads and tampons.
Oh.
We could go down the rabbit hole of what else
For
is in
sure
cotton
do
pads
that,
and
yeah.
tampons, but like even just some of that's like super basic switches. It's like
you got to get that stuff anyway. Just
protect your assets, everyone.
Dude.
Protect your assets.
Another area.
I don't know if I'm like, can we cut that?
It's in the podcast now.
It's there.
Wow,
This
it's
has
been
been so
real.
good.
This is just posing some critical thinking questions. Here we go.
I'm-
It's a
I'm
great
all about
topic.
this.
It's just a little quick like food for thought mini episode.
Right. We're all wearing clothes. We're all buying clothes. So you may as well be educated on what you're buying.
There you go.
I say this is a pretty important subject, though. I think even more and more, if you could use clothes as a healing mechanism or find how it affects all your skin conductivity, I mean, really, that's a good food for thought.
And who's going to actually fund those studies, right? Who's going to fund hemp fabric has an X amount of healing properties and, it's just, but hey, there's a reason they use it post-surgery.
I mean,
right?
anybody that has skin irritation or skin inflammation or when they wear a fabric, this is something they would have to look into.
Even like, and this is before we close out, like even razor burns and some of those things like that you think about, like skin conditions like eczema, razor burns, like a lot of people have noticed, like some of my friends that personally have had issues with that stuff have noticed. I used to get like an underarm like razor burns and I would wear like Lululemon shirts, and I think it's just like when you open up like and you shave and then you put something on and it's not breathable, it's not
because the
right
off-gassing
frequency.
from like the
Yes,
fabrics.
and then you get these skin conditions even, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was the fabric, but then I like started switching stuff, and then I'll go back and be like, oh my gosh, it's the fabric. Even if you're using organic, products to.
We haven't had another part in this podcast.
Yeah, maybe
This is
we'll
like,
go down. We could go a lot deeper. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, because I want to go about this whole thing about frequencies and even colors and things that are people. I mean, even because if you open up a bag that has some kind of clothing and you smell the chemicals, I'm like, that.
Oh, it's so bad, especially the
Yeah, I know.
Amazon
Tough.
clothes. When they come and they're like, they shrink wrap them, and then you like open it, it's like all the air hits it, and I'm like,
You're like,
whoa, I got like
whoa,
smacked in the face.
what
with,
is
like,
what's in this thing?
like, is this thing like biohazard? Like,
Yeah.
What's
Like,
happening?
definitely petrochemical derived.
Oh, for sure. I'm like,
No
that's
doubt.
got to go straight. Like, take the tongs and like drop it in the washer. I'm like, add a little extra essential oil
Oh
in
my
there.
gosh.
Oh,
And see,
man.
you're good. I need to be better about like washing clothes. Like when I actually get the product and like throw it in the washing machine, because sometimes I'm like, oh, just
You
Oh,
need to
well,
wash
I
it.
used to. Yeah, I used to until
No,
I
I'm
met
like,
you,
maybe
and
not.
now I know these things. I'm like, Abby
like
would
nobody's
die.
perfect.
It's okay. It's
This
okay,
is
guys.
the best podcast.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's been good.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Courtney's
Abby.
got to catch a flight. We'll
Yeah,
put you on
my
the flip
Uber's
side,
here.
girly.
But we're
I
gonna
know.
catch. But tell us your feed. We got to know because you have a podcast
Yeah,
as
you
well.
do.
gotta let us
Abby
know.
knows.
Oh.
Abby sets the bar so high for all of us.
Guys, just, find me at Abi Fernandini. Like, let's have a chat. Slide into my DMs.
Slide on in and talk about
Slide
hot
into my
underwear.
DMs. I like to journal the body. That's my little phrase.
Oh,
Yeah.
Journal of the Body. I like that.
There it is.
Thank you guys for joining us today on the Ancient Health Podcast. Fam's here. Everybody's here. We love y'all. Until next time. But if you like what you've heard today, I'm getting it. Like and subscribe. Click that button. We'll talk to you guys later.